Well, hello, and well, it's late at night here on the Pacific Coast. I'm Patty Serrano, your host of Everything About Everything videos, and I'm so excited because I have been trying to track down. Well, we'll ask him the official title because he is from South Africa and just world champ this year, and I'm just so honored to have him here. But we want to get the correct pronunciation of his name, so I'm going to say Iain Campbell, but let's bring him in. How you doing, Iain? So. Is there a special pronunciation of your name?
No, you nailed it. It's Iain Campbell.
Oh, it's Iain
Simple.
Campbell. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe it might be something like exciting, like Eon or something.
No, it's pretty. I'm a pretty boring person. It's just
Oh, no,
Iain.
I like that.
Easy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then, so you're coming off of a pretty big high. I know you're under isolation down there. I don't know if are you down there, across there? Where are you from me? I know that we're in totally.
I'm across and down.
Okay, crossing down. Okay. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, crossing down. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So you're tomorrow to me, and
Yes.
we're out here late. Usually I do these broadcasts a little bit earlier, but that's okay. We'll get through it, and then we'll post it up tomorrow live. But well, let's just get started on how you. I mean, how old are you, first of all?
So I'm 29 years old.
29. Okay, so you
Yeah.
fall into that kind of. You're the fourth generation bodyboarder.
Yeah,
We've
I
got
would be.
five, yeah, we got five generations, so you're in the fourth generation, and
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. So were you inspired by somebody like your parent or somebody that got you
I,
going?
I started off life saving. So I was doing like life saving competitions, and when we were younger, in the nippers is what they called the ages from 8 to, I guess it would be 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, we had a bodyboard race that we used to do. So you used to go out,
Oh.
go around some buoys, and then come back in.
Mm-hmm.
And this really started to kind of get me into bodyboarding. And I
Oh.
was riding like a real old, terrible um, Aquafin, which is just like it's like it looks like a blank of the bodyboard, like the insides of a bodyboard. There's just nothing else to it. And yeah, just I fell in love with riding that style of board. And while I was riding that, I started, I think I was about 11 or 12, and I started competing. And once the competition started, it was just like, it was avalanche effect. It went from competitions to new boards, to new sponsors, to winning South African titles. And, so it went on, which I'm sure we'll talk about more later on.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting. I always talk like it's like, you were at Las Vegas and you hit like a little jackpot. And so then
Exactly.
you actually want to put more money in now that you hit the jackpot. I know that feeling because
You only hit the jackpot once you've spent like half of your money,
yeah. But you hit the jackpot. You fell in love with the bodyboard. I know it well because that's what happened to me. I got the good fortune of Tom Morey giving me a board and saying, "Hey, Patty, go try it." And I can actually remember, and that was 45 years ago. So I can remember exactly that wave. I can remember what my expression on my face was. It was
That's
sheer,
real.
yeah, sheer joy. And I think that's why I put so much of my life into the sport, because it was, I hit the jackpot like you did. So that's really cool. And then so you went and got inspired by getting into competitions and everything. And then what was your first trip out to, your first wave where you went actually on a trip? How old were you and where'd you go?
I think I must have been 13 or 14, and we went down to a place where there used to be a huge South African tour competition down in Plettenberg Bay, which is on our East Coast. In the Elements movie that I put out last year, I had like a little section called Wind. And in Wind, there's a little left-handed wedge. And that was probably like the first trip that I went to where we actually got some decent waves. And I ended up, surfing in those events and doing really well at that event.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was probably the first trip that I went on where I was like, okay, this is really cool. The people around here are really cool. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna probably me stick to this. And that's where I feel like it all really started getting going. And
Oh, wow.
it's just like, yeah, I had like a really good event there. Then I got put into this, they called it an expression session, where you would get put into this like free heat where you're allowed to do whatever you want and, you know, express yourself kind of thing.
Wow.
And that was like a real big turning point, because I got put into this event when I was about 15, and you know,
Wow.
it was all the open division guys, and here I was as a junior riding with them, and that
Nice.
was pretty big for me. And that was probably the moment where I realized, you know, this is definitely what I want to keep doing. And if I'm this good already, like, let's see where we can take this.
Yeah, awesome. How big was that wave that day, that first one when you went out?
It's not the size of the wave, but
Uh,
the rocks kind of give it such a good bounce to make it a wedge.
oh,
So
uh-huh.
you're constantly getting these like perfect A-frame peaks, like all the way down the beach. And
Mm-hmm.
that was something I was super excited about, because the amount of speed and power that peak had was just so much fun. Just like, you know, you just get so much speed into these big bowls, and I loved it. It was always the best time. And we had 250 people at one event throughout all their divisions. So there was
Wow.
like
Wow.
the whole community was there every time, and
Mm-hmm.
that just makes those events so much more special thinking back to them now.
Oh, yeah. So when was your first trip out of, how old were you, and where was your first trip like out of in the world, like Fiji or Hawaii or somewhere? How old were you?
I went to Hawaii in 2010, so
Oh,
that would have made me
about
19.
19. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What was
So
your impression?
yeah, it was strange, because it was still in the times when Hawaii was a little bit it was still rough, you know. There was
Mm-hmm.
still people getting beaten up, and there was still, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
social media wasn't as strong as it is now, and
Yeah.
there was it was just a whole different culture. And, you know, you had to respect everyone, and I mean, you still do, but back then
Yeah.
it was way more of an issue.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like, you know, it really changed my mind to traveling and what I want to do, and it got me really excited to keep going back. And, you know, for the last, what would it be, 10 years, I think I've done 7 trips back to Hawaii. So
Wow.
that first trip really made a huge impact, and I've just kept going back more and more every year.
Wow. That's amazing. So is that one of your favorite spots, or you like some of these other people like Fiji and Bali and
No,
all that?
Pipeline in Hawaii
Yeah.
is for me the best wave in the world. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. That's what Guillermo told me too. He's all hooked on that place.
Yeah,
Yeah. He lives there too now, and his lifeguard's there, so he must love it.
yeah, you gotta love it, man.
Yeah, for sure. So what about when were there any moments that you can share with us that were like you thought you were in a dream, either on a wave or something that happened in your bodyboarding life?
Well, I mean, definitely my titles. I won world title in 2017, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah, nice.
yeah, and then I've just come back from Hawaii, where I won my first pipe event.
Yeah, that was
And
awesome.
those two together are, you know, I've put a lot of time and money and effort into the sport to get to competitions and to keep surfing um, different spots around the world. And to win a world title was beyond anything I could have ever imagined.
Mm,
And, you know,
mm,
it came really quickly too, because I mean, I'd only really been in the scene for about 2 or 3 years. And then all of a sudden, I was having the opportunity to win a world title. And it's just so surreal thinking back to it, that in that year, I actually won the world title. And the same goes for pipe. It's because
yeah.
I put so much time and effort and money into those trips every single year, getting back there. And, um, that's the effort alone makes
Yeah.
that title so much more worth
Yeah.
it.
I can't
And,
believe it. Yeah.
and it's just, yeah, it's just
Mhm.
been a crazy, crazy experience. And the whole last 2 to 3 years really feel like a big dream and blur. So,
Mm.
when I look back at my career, it's not only the good times, but also I've, in the competitions, but I've also had some really good trips with good people. And, even last year I had a really bad competition year, but on the other side, I made that series that's playing in the background, The Elements, which
Yeah, I love
a
it.
lot of effort and time and money into that. And,
Hmm.
that's also another thing, that's a whole other side to the sport that a lot of people don't think about. And
Yeah.
that's a huge thing for me.
Yeah, it sounds you've had like amazing career. And I would like to just stop since you mentioned it and tell people if you can go over to I found it on YouTube, and it's Ian's The Elements, and it's by Render Films. It might be on their website or their page,
It
right?
should be on this page too, yeah.
Yeah.
Render.
It is a beautiful one, probably like someone said in the comments, probably one of the most beautifully done, and not just about bodyboarding, but just the scenes and the edits, and it's a really nice, and you look great in it as a writer, so I would be real proud of if I was you.
I'm super proud.
Yeah,
It took a lot of time and a lot of
I
effort.
bet. Yeah.
Um, there was only one other guy filming pretty much the whole thing. I got a few waves from other people, but for the most part, it's one guy filming. He just did an amazing job, and I'm super proud of it. I'm really happy how it all turned out, and it
Yeah,
was a
that's
good
awesome.
project, and worth every second of time and money that it took to put it together.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and those waves are just amazing. So, tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about South Africa. What I know, Alistair Taylor. I met him, when he was with Maury Boogie, but that's the only South African I've ever met. So,
Wow.
how has it changed? And he must be what, 40-ish now? For
Yeah, he's mid-40s for sure.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
all the golden era, the second generation, I've worked through Pat Caldwell and Jay, and I've done some interviews with all the second generation. The golden boys, we call them. They were the ones that
Yeah.
started the Juicy Fruit commercial and all that era. But I've never heard really what life is like down where you are. What I mean, you're over on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
it's kind of strange because so I'm more in the south because I'm in
Okay.
Cape Town. So I'm like on the
Oh,
on the
okay.
very point of Africa.
Hmm.
And I stay in a little town called Strand, which is an Afrikaans word for beach.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I moved down here 3 years ago, and I moved down to live with my girlfriend, who I've been with for 4 years now, Rosie. And yeah, it's just I had a really big change. The trip from where I used to live in Durban down to here is about 2 hours. So it's not like it's, I mean, 2 hour flight. So it's not like it's, I'm not moving a short distance. I moved pretty far away from my friends and family and everyone I grew up with. And that was quite a big thing for me to do. And
Yeah, I bet. That sounds like
now,
it.
yeah, but
Uh,
now that I've done it and it's been like this for a couple of years, it's actually really easy, and I
mhm.
get by.
Nice.
I have an awesome group of people that I surf with down here. But I think the one thing about South Africa is obviously the crime rates and the poverties and everything else that goes with a third world country, and it makes it tough to live in places like this. But at the same
Oh,
time, living the way I do and lucky enough to be earning pounds and euros and
hmm.
dollars, I think it changes, what I'm able to do with my money. And that's why I'm just fortunate enough to be one of the lucky few that are actually doing this full time. And
Nice.
if I was living anywhere else, I don't think I would have been so lucky as to do that. But living in South Africa, I'm able to do it. And I'm just really fortunate and really lucky to
That's
be in this
awesome.
situation. And the waves down here are so amazing, and
Oh,
the
that's what I
people.
was going to ask. Because it's at the point where they come in from both sides of both oceans, or how's
Yeah,
that work?
so the good thing about living down here is your predominant wind is offshore, which is quite
Oh,
nice.
wow.
So your wind that's predominantly blowing through the summer is actually an offshore breeze that blows across the bays for where I stay, and then
Mm-hmm.
all the good spots in the city too. So
Wow.
because I'm staying about 30 miles outside of actual Cape Town itself, I stay 30 miles north. Um, well, it wouldn't really be north. It's actually more east than anything else. But because I'm staying so far out, it's kind of nice that I get the opportunity to surf multiple different breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And that also allows me to, get so many different types of waves. And there's waves up the West Coast. And it's a good base to be in if you want to be a wave rider and you want
Oh,
to do
that's
this.
nice.
It all worked out. And I think I'm really lucky to be down here and in a good place.
That's awesome. What is your, like, I've watched, your age group, pretty much grow up, like all the Pat Caldwells and all those, that JP Patterson, all those guys grow up, and they're all late 50s. Some are going into 60s. A couple of the early riders I worked with are in their 60s, and they're the ones that are like 60ish. I'm 74, so I'm first generation, and some of the 60-year-olds are first generation that traveled with me. But we got to see, Iain, like the whole progression of the sport from, the early days of just taking boards across the beach and letting kids ride them
Yeah.
to, big world tours and, GOB and all of the stuff. And so now here we are today, and you just came back off of a nice trip to Hawaii. But at your age now, what do you see, not only in South Africa, but maybe America or Hawaii? What do you see can help the sport where you will be able to grow and make a career and money at it? Do you see anything in your vision how that could happen?
I think I really feel that, the I don't think the world tour is as important as we all thought it was at one stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if people would start to create stuff like, video series and put the idea out there and teach younger people how good the ocean is and how accessible it is on a bodyboard,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be way more important than having people go to, certain areas around the world and compete in competitions.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've just lost track of our base, and obviously media is a huge part of things. And I feel that, especially in the competition scene, that media is key to being able to show the world exactly what we can do. I think a more hands-on approach, getting to the younger people and the younger generations, would be way more beneficial in the long run.
Yeah. Well, you're in our camp then, because that is probably the perfect answer. Because there's about in the first generation of bodyboarders, that's kind of how we've watched it evolve. Like, the tour's great, letting people travel and have sponsors is great. The magazines help that a lot. And now that
Yeah.
where are the magazines, And like you
That's
said,
it.
the media, that a movie like that could inspire, like Elements could inspire a lot of people. But you're right, and this is what we're seeing happening here in California. I don't know if it's happening there with you, but there, and a little bit in Hawaii. There's a couple groups. Some of the Kauai people are putting together a boogie board classics, they're calling it. And then here in California, they're doing a boogie. They're going back to the core, the original
Yeah.
little grommet, kind of thing. Did a little boogie board camp and call it that, because they're not into the sport yet, and they're not have aspirations like you to, get into the competitions. They're first time riders.
Exactly.
And the thing that's the key to that, and see, I've been saying it for 15 years, but now everybody's starting to listen. Because
Yeah.
I think when it started dying was too much emphasis was being put, like you said, on the pros, and they needed to make a living. But I think what happened was board sales stopped.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough. We need board sales. We need, because that'll aggregate the business world, and that will, like it grew in the beginning. So anything I think like if you have that vision and you have that passion to get those little groms out on the beach and maybe get somebody to donate some boards or have some other people help you. This is what's happening next month in California. A bunch of guys are bringing some kids down and having the 6 weeks of just boogie board beach camps. And they're bringing
Oh,
their old boards, and they're going to have a couple of people go out and show them how to ride it. And you know what's going to happen? I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. They're going to want to know can I buy one.
exactly.
You know, those kids are going to want to know where can I buy one, and that's what I think in all areas. I know when I spoke to Guilherme, he's really big on camps in Brazil, and of course he inspires a lot of people out there on the beach.
Yeah.
Pat and let's see, Pat. Who did you say he was working with? I think Ben
Yeah.
Searson. They're working on getting some younger Grom fests
Yeah.
going.
I
So
know
that
Jeff and Dave do one too on Kauai.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's cool to see that. And we've actually got, so there's a local guy here in Cape Town who's started up a bodyboard school, and his
Oh right.
name is Aidan Cleve, and his school is Bodyboard South Africa.
Oh
And
nice.
we were actually meant to do a little bit of a camp together when this whole thing, when the coronavirus was really starting to become a thing here in South Africa. And it was the week that we had planned to do this was the week that we actually went into lockdown here in South Africa.
Ah,
So we just weren't lucky enough to get that done. But I really think that, that's one thing that I've seen here in South Africa that's really working. And there's so many more kids. It's like, it gets me so excited because there's so many more kids that are getting involved in the sport. And yeah, it's nuts to see, what you can do when you just put a little bit of promotion out there. And, guys like myself or other South Africans or even around the world, like Pat and Jeff and Dave. And
yeah,
these guys can come up and they can meet people like that,
yeah,
let's put it out there and say they're heroes. They meet
yep,
their heroes and they get to compete in an event where they can possibly win a board. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that bodyboarding really needs, and it needs
yeah.
more of that stuff.
It needs it, yeah, all over again. I mean, see, that's how we started it. Remember, there was no competitions when I started. Tom said, "How do you do this?" I go, "Give me 30 boards, and I'm going to go down the beach, and I'm going to let kids ride them." And that
Yeah,
it just exploded from every East Coast beach that I went to. It just then they ran down to the stores to buy them. It's just the thing of it is, and I say this a lot because I follow a lot of like business shows and stuff. But the guy from the Profit, which is a program here, he goes in and invests in business, and he says to every single one of those investments, what did you do to get here now? Let's go back to what it was that got this thing started, and then let's just kind of redo that a little bit. And he goes in and puts a refresh button on what really got them there, and then you can expand after that. So
yeah,
basically, there's nothing saying that there can't be another world tour, but it's kind of like, let's go back and just kind of like, now this generation, let's just start over and keep it going, because it would just be hard, just disheartening to see it fall apart. I mean, there's just way too much effort put
yeah,
into the sport. So
definitely.
I'm glad to
But
hear that for you.
yeah,
And
it's good to see
go ahead.
like the blueprint's already there for for our model of our sport,
Mm-hmm.
but we just need to take it back to where that blueprint started and go
Yep,
through it again.
that's a good way to put it. Now, what about you? Where are you heading out to after all this is over? You have any trips planned or?
I haven't planned anything because I just don't know how long I'm gonna
Yeah,
I'm gonna be in this. So
yeah.
uh, I guess my next trip, probably for the end of the year, I won't have anything planned.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too crazy, and I really need to just kind of figure out exactly where the end of the year is going to be, and then
Mm-hmm.
start thinking into next year and exactly what's going to happen. I don't know if certain events aren't going to happen because
Yeah,
we don't know what the governments are going to do in certain countries. I mean, I know
yeah,
our government alone has spent a hell of a lot of money on, this virus, and we for sure won't be out of this until for the next 5 years even. So I think that's going to really affect our bodyboarding scene and how many competitions we can have, and even the monetary value of those competitions and how much they're actually worth. So I'll probably keep doing what I'm doing. I've got YouTube videos that I put up very often, and you know, once a week I try and do them. When I'm surfing, I could probably do more, but at the moment it's just one a week, and I'm trying to educate people and help people, and that's probably going to be my plan going forward, is just to keep people entertained, you know, help them as much as I can. I've got a couple of my how-to videos on YouTube that have done really well.
That's awesome.
And it's been amazing to see the response from everyone too. Is because like I'll get these messages on Instagram, thanks so much for putting that video together. It really helped me to get this, or you know, really made me look at this part of my riding or that part of my riding, and that makes me feel so much better about putting it out there and just letting it be free, and anyone can go on and watch it. No one has to pay for it, and I think that, you know, the sport gave me so much, so me giving back a little bit to other people, and just to, you know, show them how everyone can actually enjoy it and progress in the sport. It's not just about the pros and getting to that higher level and doing all that stuff, but instead we can all grow together, and that's really what I'm going to put out there and kind of showcase on that YouTube channel.
That movie ran out. I was just putting it up again, Elements. I wanted to just play it, and so I wanted to take the last few minutes here with you, Iain. And first of all, thank you once again. And maybe just if you could, for the sake of just the listeners, tell us a little bit about the people that are behind you, some of your people that are sponsoring you, maybe how you got started with them, or a little bit about them, and love to hear that before you go.
So my main brand that I have, Sniper Bodyboards, it's actually run by Hoff, who is the original Moray distributor throughout Europe.
I remember that. Yes.
So Hoff started this company, and it's a very big distribution company. It's got about 60 brands behind it, and one of the brands being Sniper.
Okay.
And they came on board in the start of 2018. So this will be my third year riding for them. And they've just been amazing. They're super professional guys. You know, they run a really tight business there. And it's been amazing to work with a company like that, where everything's done so professionally. And that's kind of how I've done my career too. I've always kept it as professional as I can, and kept, you know, email people once a month, and, you know, send them reports, send them event results, and, you know, just keep them in the loop of exactly what I'm doing. And that was such a good part. This was such a good start that I learned.
Yeah.
And down the line now, it's like I'm actually running a business, and I know exactly what people want from me. And that's huge on my part for, you know, providing some information. And they don't even have to follow me, but every month they're going to know exactly what I've done. And that's
nice. Yeah.
You know, that's what kind of they deserve after spending some money on me throughout the year. So,
yeah. Well, they must have a lot of faith in you, because, you know, you've been a good rider for them.
Exactly. I think that goes a long way too. You know, with sponsorships, it's these people are, you know, they're taking money out to almost market their products on you. So in turn, you should be reporting back to exactly what you've been doing with their money. So I always felt that it was the right thing to do in those situations. And so Sniper.
You should write a book on that, because there's a lot of people that don't know that, and I know a lot of bodyboard companies that really aren't too happy with their riders, because the riders think that the company owes them. And I think that your attitude sounds like you could write a little essay on that and maybe pass it on to people, because that's a good one.
It's crazy, because a lot of people don't understand that, you know, this is a business, and at the end of the day, the only thing that the sponsors are looking for they're looking to make money at the end of the day.
That's right.
They're going to look after you, but at the same time, if you're not making money for them, like, what's the point in putting money behind you?
Yep.
So, like, if people kind of adopt that mentality of, we're actually working for someone here and we're not just on a free ride,
Yeah.
this whole industry could really take off. And I think there'd be a lot more positives that would come out of that situation. But, that's just one of these things that we really need to educate people a little bit more. And that's really that's what I wanted to do with the whole YouTube channel, is just educate people on things and help people, help people kind of see that this is not just we're not just here getting a free ride. We actually, we're trying to push these companies and sell product and get their name out there more than get anything else. And that's one thing that Sniper has allowed me to do, is they've just let me go on my own path. And when they see that I'm doing good, they let me know that I'm doing good and please keep doing that and all the rest. And that's why that relationship has just worked so well. And it's been just so positive for just everything that I've been able to do. And
yeah, that's awesome. Is there anybody else you want to mention?
So then Sun Zapper, which is on my t-shirt here, it's another brand that I've been with for ages, and they're a sunscreen brand, and another group of unbelievable people that I just really, really like to work with. And it's just been such a pleasure. They've been with me pretty much from the start. I had a friend that started distributing the product here in South Africa, and I jumped on board with him. And once he stopped the distribution, I actually jumped onto the international group. So it was a really cool transfer, and they took me in with open arms, and it's just been amazing.
Nice.
And then Churchill swim fins.
Oh, wow.
The US, they're another brand that really backed me and got behind me for the last few years. And I don't think a lot of people understand how much that company can do for you and how much they've done for me.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
It's been an amazing journey with them. I've been through a few of the managers because they keep chopping and changing pretty quickly. But all in all, the company's been amazing. The payments have always come through on time, which is, dealing with sponsors is never easy to do that. But these guys, another very professional company.
Where are they out of? What country are they out of?
They're out of the US, out of LA. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Oh, that same Churchill then. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Same Churchill, and then in South Africa, I've got a brand. Obviously, everyone knows Red Bull, and Red Bull South Africa, pretty much from the start of my career, have been behind me.
Nice.
I started something up in Durban where I originally lived, and they've just, they came on board and they've helped me with flights and helped me to do premieres for movies that I had down the way. And it's been such a good give and take relationship that I've had with them that, I could have never asked for anything better. It's just I've had a really good career, and the sponsors, especially these last few years, have been unbelievable, and they've really got behind me when I needed them to and helped me out wherever they can. And that's awesome. That's all you can ever ask from them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, do you have like a typical workout that, you plan on doing this up into your like 40s and 50s, or, professional, or how do you work out to stay in shape?
I don't know. Actually, funny enough, I was watching, so I've got a trainer that I work with here in Cape Town, in South Africa, and I went to him originally for shoulder impingement issues that I had just over the years. I used to play a lot of water polo, and I think starting off playing water polo and not stretching and warming up properly before playing games has maybe really affected my rotator cuff and a couple of other motions in my shoulder. So that was always an issue. And I went to him originally for rehabilitation on my shoulder, and ended up doing a 3-year relationship with him where we just he took me to my world title, and he's got a bit of sports psychology behind him. Philip Null is his name, and it's just been an amazing, amazing to have him on my career. And I've just been so fortunate to have some good people around me through that part. And yeah, so that's basically my training that I do.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
For the most part, is a high performance training of whether it be weights or plyometrics or body weight exercises. It's just generally, he sorts that all out for me. So it's real. I don't really have to think about that side of things. I get sent these programs if I'm overseas, or it's really cool to have someone like that where I don't have to think about it, and it's just, I get an email and it's got a program and you do the program. It's just so basic, and I just, yeah, it's just, I'm really, really fortunate to have that real good team around me. And then around Philip, I've also got a chiropractor and a massage therapist, and everyone else. So I make use of all of these people. And
sounds like you really like a real pro athlete.
Yeah, that's always how I wanted to feel, because I come from a long line of athletes. Both my parents were South African athletes. My brother's been a South African champion in canoeing. So it's always like, I've come from this line of athletes, and for me to be a professional, I must act like a professional. So I must be doing the training, I must be getting the massages, I must be going to the chiropractors, and the sport takes a lot out of you. So, a lot of people might just see us as riding waves, but when you're coming down and you're landing moves like that, it's not always easy on the body. So having your body in as good a shape as you can is
hey, just paddling out all those waves I'm seeing back there. I mean, just the paddle out alone takes a little bit of stamina.
Oh,
Wow. Well, it's been such a great time. I've gone way over, but I knew it would, because we could talk to you for hours. But I really want to thank you for coming in. I know it's a really early morning there. It's late night here, and that's okay, because we got a chance to really find out a little bit about you. And I want to thank you once again for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. And sorry that communication has been so terrible the last couple of days, but I really appreciate just sharing my story with a couple more people. And
yes, absolutely.
And it's been amazing to chat and go through my again. It's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, don't go away. I'll be right back with you here. So I want to thank everybody for coming in and maybe possibly watching this later, which I'll have it up on YouTube tomorrow. What an inspiration to hear Iain talk about what he does for his sponsors and how he trains for his events. And if you're a person that maybe perhaps wants to get into the sport, or maybe you're just looking at maybe further competitions after we get out of all this isolation, maybe you'll take some of the inspiration from him, because truly 29-year-old South African young man doing really, really well for his sponsors. It's really an inspiration to hear someone like him. And so we'll see you and talk to you on my next Everything About Everything videos. I'm Patty Serrano, and we'll see you at that time.